to get this out of the way, yes, if you have the Game Pass version of Starfield, you can get the Deluxe Edition upgrade. You don't have to buy Starfield. Like that. I want to get that all out of the way. And no, you cannot buy the DLC separately right now. But when the DLC comes closer to release, or when it does release, you can get it separately. But as of right now, the only way to order it, I guess, is to get the digital deluxe edition. So yeah, to get all that out of the way, in this video, we are going to be discussing the timeline for the Starfield DLC. Basically, I want this to be some sort of time capsule to kind of just keep everything like, oh, this is when this started and all that. Now, I won't be giving exact dates and stuff because a lot of it is very, some of it happened on this day, and then, if I can, I will give exact dates, but I won't. I will try to be refraining from that. I'll just get a loose timeline of events on how stuff just got, like, information about the DLC slowly got released over time. Released. With that all being said, let's begin. So the DLC was announced before the game came out, I think, a couple months, maybe even like half a year before the game came out, that there was going to be a DLC. And then, when the Digital Deluxe Edition pre-order started coming out, we finally got a name for the DLC. The DLC was called Shattered Space, and we knew it was coming out around 2024. We know that Bethesda likes to have their Bethesda likes to have DLC for their games. I mean, I think every game since Morrowind has had a DLC. So it was a matter of not if, but when. And that's all we pretty much knew for like 8 months. Which is crazy to me because, most of Bethesda's DLC usually got released within like 4 to 5 months. Within that 5, 6, 7, 8 month window. And this one's taking about a year to make. And yeah. So the speculation began. For the past 8 months, we were speculating on what Shattered Space even meant. Now, usually Bethesda's DLC have pretty, general names. Like, the names of the DLC usually reflect what the DLC is going to be about. For example, Mothership Zeta is, about you going to the Mothership Zeta in Fallout 3. It's about aliens. That makes sense, right? And we were trying to figure out, what does Shattered Space mean? Is this Bethesda's first vaguely named DLC, maybe? Or does it mean something? There was tons of theories about what that name even means, and even to this day, people are still wondering. Some people think, like, it's about a new colony war that's gonna happen that will shatter space, as in a metaphorical sense. Not literally breaking space, but like shattering, like, the colonies will fight each other or something. Some people think that it will be the Great Serpent who shatters space. And, maybe there's other godlike beings, like the Great Serpent, which we'll get into that a little bit later. And just stuff like that. Maybe you go through, like, a little shattered part of space, like a portal, and you go to a different galaxy. The possibilities are endless, really. And we're just trying to figure out what that means. Speaking of the Great Serpent, another big theory was that the DLC was going to be based around House Va'ruun, the best religious faction in the game. And the best faction of all, praise be to the Great Serpent and all that. They're very mysterious in the game. And people were like, well, maybe they're going to be a big part of the next DLC because compared to all the other factions, it has the least amount of, like, missions and content and stuff. Because you can't even, like, there is no House Varun specific mission. And, you know, I think that they were saving up all their ideas for the DLC. And if you even go through the files, you can see that they changed the name of one of the planets from Varun Kaya, or however you say it, basically the homeworld of House Varun, to a different name. And, you know, people are wondering, that's very weird. Why would they do that? Maybe it changed during development for the DLC. Who knows, right? But that's what we were speculating for a couple months, you know, 8 to 9 months, however long it took. And then, finally, after like 8 to 9 months, out of nowhere, Todd Howard decided to show up on the Kind of Funny podcast. Now, all the things I will be referencing will be in the video. So anything I reference will be in the video's description, will be in the video's description. I'll also leave a link to the House of Varun wiki, which I did work on a little bit. So, anyways, back to the timeline. So basically, after like 7 to 8 months, we got in the Kind of Funny podcast, XCast Games podcast thing where Todd Howard was interviewed. He mentions Starfield stuff, but we'll be focusing on the DLC. He said that the DLC will be a bigger, beefier DLC, and that it will be coming out in the fall of 2024. So there we go, we finally got our window. So all we know as of this moment is that it is named Shattered Space, it's coming out in the fall of 2024, and it's a bigger DLC, which are all great, but that's still barely anything. And then, literally a couple days later, when the update trailer came out, they showed us this picture. Now, technically it's a little video, but it's basically an image of a purple-looking planet with a little box of code down there, and if you zoom in, it says Varun. So, Bethesda kind of inadvertently told us that House Varun will at least play a major part in this DLC, which is something we were all theorizing about. And yeah, that's it. That's all we know. I know, kind of anticlimactic. So all we know is that it's called Shattered Space. It's going to release in the fall of 2024, and that it may focus a lot on House Varun. Now, just because House Varun was mentioned doesn't mean that necessarily it will be the main focus, but it could be a big part of the DLC, so who knows. And it just, you know, is all speculatory still. Like, now we kind of know that they might be a big part of it, so now it's just, what does Shattered Space even mean? So, time for what's going to happen in the future. Like, is there anything, are they going to make a trailer for the DLC? What are they going to do? So, here's my theory. So, there's the new Xbox Direct coming out in, like, June 9th, I think. So, I think that's when they will announce the DLC. Because think about it this way. All the eyes of a lot of people will be watching. Not just people that like Starfield, but people that don't like it or are, you know, like they want to wait. So everyone will be watching, and I think it would be a perfect time to announce or just reveal the DLC. Personally, of course. And so, if they reveal the DLC, like in a trailer, during the June 9th showcase, then, between the fall and the June 9th showcase, they can have, like, merch and teasers and stuff. And through that, I think that the DLC will release in September. Now, why in September? Because that's when Starfield turns 1 year old. You know, it released September 6th, I think. And so it'll be 1 year old. And I think that would be just the greatest time to do it. You know, celebrating 1 year of Starfield. I think we will get we'll probably get a concrete release date during the teaser. But that's just my theory. And yeah. So that's all we know. Now, of course, I know what you're asking. Webs, what is your wish list for this DLC? What do you want? And I say, okay, I hear you guys. Stop asking that. You know, guys, stop liking and subscribe. Stop liking and subscribing the video. Subscribing the video? Okay. Anyways, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. And here's what I want. There's 2 things that I want from this DLC. First thing, let us join House Varun. Do not treat them like the Enclave. Do not make them the bad guys, right, where they can't be joined. Now, I know you can get the trait, so you can join them. But I mean, like, don't have it to where House Varun, if they are the main focus, are the bad guys, like all of them. Make it to where you can join them. Maybe you'll have to fight the Zealots in some way, the House Varun Zealots. Again, if you want to read more about it, go to the wiki in the description. I think that will be very interesting. And the second thing I want is more factions. Of course, more ship parts and stuff, I already knew that, but more factions. I mean, I like the factions we have, but I would love some new ones, you know, in this shattered space. If it is a big beefy DLC like they're saying it is, hopefully there will be more factions. I'm not necessarily saying more planets and stuff, I just want more factions, maybe more religious factions, and maybe more divine beasts like the Great Serpent. You know, all that stuff. That's what I want. And what do you guys want, though? What do you guys want? You want me to end the video? Well, that's too bad. I'm joking. I'm ending the video in a couple seconds. But what do you guys want? Let me know in the description, or right in my description as well. I'm edit that out, editor, please. Anyways, but just leave a comment, you know, what you think you want in the DLC, and if you're gonna get it, or if you've already bought it. Okay, time to end the video. Goodbye.